So greetings and salutations. I just got out of Detective Pikachu, and it's like something o'clock at the night. I saw the half-5 session. By the time you're watching this, it's probably been about a week. But I'm not going to do any spoilers because honestly, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the film, but there's only one real spoiler. It's kind of predictable. It's sold as Detective Pikachu, but it's not really that much of a mystery film. I wasn't expecting it to go in. I was expecting a kid's film, so I'm not going to lambast the movie for that. But I saw it on the big screen at the Grand Cinemas, and I don't know, the sound mix to me felt a little bit off. It was hard to try and hear some of the dialogue at times. Like, there's like a really heavy emphasis on the music in a lot of scenes, and it was very hard to try and pick up on a lot of what the characters are saying, and it's probably my main criticism with the movie is that as much as I love Ryan Reynolds' performance, he just seemed to be a little bit jumbled at times. I'm going to do what I did with Shazam. I'm going to go through what I thought were the negatives, and so I can then just focus on the cool stuff. I will say again, like I said before, I did enjoy this film. It's not the best film I've ever seen. It's definitely not the worst. I really did enjoy it. But so let's see. You could see that the majority of the CG budget went on Pikachu, and it was well spent, but there's moments in this movie where the CGI really felt flat. And funnily enough, it's not really on the Pokemons as much. I think the Pokemon effects were pretty good for the most part, but some of the wider shot stuff, some of the aerial views, the stuff where they've had to try and had digital stuntmen for the human actors, that kind of stuff, that came a little bit shoddy at times. It's kind of like, sometimes when they do a green screen thing and they try and digitally compose a human on there, and they'll have that kind of aura is probably the best way to describe it. It kind of felt like they did a bit of that, but it was also on the, it felt like on some of the digital doubles, which is weird because for the most part, whatever must have been on green screen on some of this wasn't that bad. I must admit the visuals in this movie were really good. Again, let's get past the nitpick, but my biggest issue is some of the CGI was a bit shonky at times, which is, again, as I said, that for what they did for Pikachu particularly is astounding. And so to say that's a gripe, that's probably the best they could have done. Just focus-wise, just focusing on that was the smartest move. The pace of the movie was okay, but I felt that the movie was just plodding along. There was no... It felt like there was no... Agency is not the right word. It felt like the characters were just going to places. Again, the whole thing of calling this Detective Pikachu, and the whole thing about this character Pikachu being a detective. Spoilers, he's not that good at detective, which is actually a really good running joke in the film, actually. Almost feels like people are telling the main characters to go to a place rather than the characters, actually doing some detecting. It feels like there's a lot of plot contrivance, and it felt like the narrative flow was being pushed along rather than being naturally derived. It's like, oh, you have to go here now, and you have to go here now, but it's not like they were discovering anything. There's a point where it feels like the movie hits a dead end, and the writers had to figure out a way to move the plot along, so they literally have a character go, you need to go here. And in the grand narrative, it makes a bit of sense, but it also really doesn't, considering further elements in the film. And that's trying to be me trying to be non-spoiler while I talk about this thing. I literally just did a thing of spoiler culture, and I don't do it, even though this will be coming out like a week after I've seen this film, which would have been roughly about 2 weeks after release. I just feel a bit shitty trying to spoil, because I do think this is a pretty good film. It's not the best film I've ever seen. It's definitely the best Pokemon film I've ever seen. Let's go on to the good things. Again, Pikachu is amazing. On a technical level, The animators did a fantastic job. The actual visual, the emotion they got through in the CGI puppet was brilliant. The fur effects, particularly like when like Pikachu's like brow, or, his brow furrows and you can see the strands moving. That's like really well done. The acting for the most part is okay. I can't really fault it. I think they are essentially dealing with the script they're given. On the whole, it was, yeah, I enjoyed it. Confession time. I'm not a Pokemon fan. I would say I'm more Pokemon adjacent. But I have seen the first movie. It's literally called the first movie. I know people being more into Pokemon than I ever will be. And they're the ones that usually dragged me to something like this. Shout out to Ev. This definitely has over the Pokemon the first movie. I didn't have a surprise cut to a gigantic close-up of Pikachu's face out of fucking nothing. I was almost tempted to sit in the front row seat to try and relive that experience, but someone was already sitting there, so that kind of ruined that. So I just took a good seat. I know the Pokemon world. I have actually completed the Pokemon Yellow back in the day. So for the most part, I mean, I know some of the Pokemon, I know some of the popular, the base ones, I know the whole thing regarding Mewtwo in the first movie. I never watched the cartoons or anything like that, so that's pretty much 2 entry points beyond for, like, say, Super Smash Brothers. This movie feels, in part, like they were trying to make this almost like a spiritual successor to the first movie, especially in regards to, the characterization of Mewtwo, which was really cool. Mewtwo is actually a character I actually like playing the character in the game, and he was actually one of my favorite Pokemon in the game, and I like the characterization in that movie. And they do kind of play on some of those beats. That's why I say it's more of a spiritual successor than them just saying, hey, this is a sequel set like 20 years in the future. There's a really cool few visual nods to the Pokemon, like the trainers and stuff like that, although there's none of the kind of really direct symbol, the iconography, like, like the characters don't like wear like the Pokemon character kind of stuff. And this is the problem. This is, I think, the problem is I'm having difficulty remembering the characters' names because they're really not spoken. I mean, there's Tim. I think it's Tim. There's Tim, who is the lead character, and his father's name is actually said more time than his name. We're constantly talking about his father, who is dead. I mean, that's literally in the trailer is like, Detective Pikachu is going about how we've got to try and find his father. So that's not much of a spoiler. The main character's central mystery plot is figuring out what happened to Harry Goodman. And that felt a little bit blunt. The character's name was Goodman. He was a good man. Would you consider the twist? It's not subtle. I'm not telling the twist. Definitely not telling the twist. I called the villain immediately. There's a few twists there, but I called the villain immediately. It's not really all that original. The Mr. Mime scene is amazing. It's probably the best. It's probably the most well-acted scene in the entire thing. It's actually the one there's a reason that actually bits of it ended up in the trailer, but the actual full thing is really, really incredibly well done. I almost wish this played a little bit more on like the film noir kind of tropes. It kind of hit it there, but this is supposed to be a kids film, so we've got to try and really dumb it down a little bit for kids, and which is a bit of a shame because I would love to see a pulpy noir Pokemon. I would love to see pulpy noir like fandom, like a pulpy noir Star Wars movie would be fucking amazing. I'm just a fan of good genre mashing. I think like something like, say, an Old Republic, Jedi detective, like a fallen Jedi, has to kind of do that kind of genre mashing. I think is brilliant. Quick tangent. This is why I kind of like some of the Marvel movies lately. They're actually like doing some really good genre mashing with like comedy and all sorts. Same with Logan. Logan was like superhero western, and that was brilliant. Back to Pikachu though. There's not much more I can say without giving away plot spoilers and that, and I don't really want to do that because I'm not sure I'd recommend this film. I enjoyed it. I genuinely enjoyed this film. I would probably give it I'll give it 7.5 out of 10. I'm probably not the right audience for it. As in, I'm not a huge Pokemon fan, so there's no... I genuinely wanted to see it based pure on the trailer, because realistically speaking, when I first heard this was being made, I was like, this sounds a bit shit. Ryan Reynolds is playing Pikachu. That has a whole lot of bad written all over it. Honestly, that's probably actually the best thing they could have done with this. They needed someone with that good kind of comedic sensibility and just the raw charisma. That helped out. Going back to spoiler culture, it did get spoiled for me, the ending, in a very tangential way, in the fact that someone said, well, it looks like they're not making any sequels, and at some point in the movie, let's just put it this way, the villain plot of the movie made me realize what the ending was, and which ties up, and that was actually, I thought, was really smart. They're probably going to make a sequel. I think they've confirmed one, but I don't know how they're going to try and replicate the plot contrivance that this movie was built on, unless they just say fuck it. I don't think I have much more to say on this, to be honest. There's movies I could talk about a lot. Like, I could probably talk a bit more about Shazam than I really did, because I thought that was really interesting. This one, there really isn't that much depth to it. But for what the movie is, that's fine. This isn't a movie that's going to knock your socks off. It's a perfect movie to enjoy and love. I could see what maybe some people might have a negative opinion on this. Everything I've seen so far has been positive. I've read someone was like, oh, I preferred it to Endgame, but you know what? That's to each his own. That's perfectly fine. I think Endgame is a objectively much better film. And that's the cops. Yeah, I'm still filming this in the parking lot. I'm channeling my inner Brad Jones. So, yeah, to sum it up, would I recommend going to see this in a cinema? It's not worth the rush. If you're going to go on a cheap day. It's probably not going to spend too much longer in the cinemas, so if you really desperately want to go, you'd have to go the next week or two. It was having a very limited run. Like, there wasn't many sessions even since it's been released like less than a week ago. And let's see this, please. They're lighting me up. There's like one gold class screening and there's like one big screen screening. So really, people are still probably going more to go and see Endgame. And this is like Tuesday night, cheap night, 5 o'clock at night. And there were maybe a dozen people in there. I don't see this is actually going to last too long. But definitely worth a watch, like, when it comes to like, Netflix or whatever, or, if it comes out on Blu-ray. Not a movie I'd probably go out and buy. Don't have the love of this. I enjoyed watching it. I really did enjoy watching it, but that's all I can say. So please support me on Patreon. There'll be a link down below. And don't forget to click like, share, and subscribe. And I have this probably in this negative space right here. I'll post the Patreon list, however short it is. You can probably see it, just going up like this now. I can do all this in post, And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that stuff down here. And until next time, see ya.